Imagine you are on a hiking trip with your friends in the remote mountains of Russia. You set up your tent for the night, expecting a peaceful sleep. But something goes terribly wrong. You wake up in a panic, cut your way out of the tent, and run into the freezing darkness. You never make it back alive. What happened to you and your friends? This is the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident, one of the most baffling and horrifying cases in history. In this video, we will explore the evidence, the theories, and the secrets behind this unsolved mystery. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. The Dyatlov Pass incident takes its name from Igor Dyatlov, the leader of a group of 9 hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. They were all experienced mountaineers and skiers, and they embarked on a winter expedition to reach the peak of Otorten, a mountain in the northern Ural range. They left the city of Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, on January 23, 1959, and took a train, a bus, and a truck to reach the village of Vishai, the last inhabited settlement before the mountains. There, they met up with another hiker, Yuri Yudin, who was supposed to join them but had to turn back due to health problems. He would be the only survivor of the group. The hikers began their trek on January 27th and kept a diary and a camera to document their journey. They also sent postcards to their families and friends, promising to return by February 12th. They seemed to be in good spirits and enjoying their adventure. On January 28th, they reached the edge of a highland area and began to prepare for climbing. They cached surplus food and equipment that would be used for the trip back in a wooded valley. The following day, they started to move through the pass. It seems they planned to get over the pass and make camp for the next night on the opposite side. But because of worsening weather conditions, snowstorms, and decreasing visibility, they lost their direction and deviated west, up towards the top of Kolatsiakl. When they realized their mistake, they decided to stop and set up a camp there, rather than moving downhill to a forested area which would have offered some shelter from the elements. This decision has puzzled many investigators and experts as it seemed irrational and risky. Why did they choose to camp on an exposed slope instead of a more sheltered spot? Some have suggested that Dyatlov did not want to lose the altitude they had gained, or that he wanted to practice camping on the mountain slope. Others have speculated that they were forced to stop by some external threat, or that they were following a secret mission. Whatever the reason, the group pitched their tent on the eastern slope of Kolatsiakl, which means dead mountain in the local Mansi language. This would be their last campsite. The next day, January 31st, they did not move. They stayed in their tent, resting and preparing for the ascent of Otorten. They had dinner around 6 p.m. and then went to sleep. They never woke up. What happened next is still a mystery, but based on the evidence found later, we can reconstruct a possible scenario. Sometime between 9:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m., something terrifying and inexplicable happened that made the hikers cut open their tent from the inside and flee in panic, leaving behind most of their belongings, including their shoes, coats, and valuables. They ran down the slope towards the forest in the dark, in the cold, in the snow. Some of them were barefoot, some had only one boot, some had only socks. They were poorly dressed for the harsh weather, which was around minus 25 degrees Celsius that night. They did not run as a group, but scattered in different directions. Some of them tried to return to the tent, some of them tried to find each other, some of them tried to make a fire. But none of them succeeded. One by one, they succumbed to the elements and to something else. The hikers did not return by February 12th as they had planned. Their families and friends became worried and demanded a rescue operation. The authorities initially refused, saying that delays were common in such expeditions and that the hikers were experienced and could handle themselves. But after pressure from the relatives and the media, they finally agreed to launch a search on February 20th. The search team consisted of volunteers, students, teachers, police officers, and military personnel. They were aided by helicopters, planes, and dogs. They followed the route of the hikers, and on February 26th, they found the abandoned and badly damaged tent on Kolatsiakl. They were shocked by what they saw. The tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty, and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind. The tent had been cut open from the inside. Around the campsite, they found 8 or 9 sets of footprints, left by people who were wearing only socks, a single shoe, or were barefoot. The tracks led down towards the edge of a nearby woods. on the opposite side of the pass, 1.5 kilometers to the northeast. However, after 500 meters, they were covered with snow. At the forest's edge, under a large cedar, the searchers found the remains of a small fire and the first two bodies. They were shoeless and dressed only in their underwear. The branches on the tree were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting that one of them had climbed up to look for something, perhaps the tent. Between the cedar and the camp, they found 3 more corpses, who seemed to have died in poses suggesting that they were attempting to return to the tent. They were found separately at distances of 300, 480, and 630 meters from the tree. One of them had a small crack in his skull, but it was not thought to be a fatal wound. The remaining 4 travelers took more than 2 months to find. They were finally discovered on May 4th under 4 meters of snow in a ravine 75 meters further into the woods from the cedar tree. These 4 were better dressed than the others, and there were signs that those who had died first had apparently relinquished their clothes to the others. One of them was wearing another's faux fur coat and hat, while another's foot was wrapped in a piece of another's wool trousers. However, these 4 had suffered severe and fatal injuries. 1 had major skull damage and 2 had major chest fractures. According to the medical examiner, the force required to cause such damage would have been extremely high, comparable to the force of a car crash. Notably, the bodies had no external wounds associated with the bone fractures, as if they had been subjected to a high level of pressure. All 4 bodies at the bottom of the creek in the ravine were in a running stream of water that had wet their clothing. The medical examiner found no indications of other people having been nearby on the slope, apart from the 9 travelers. The tent had been ripped open from within. The victims had died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Traces from the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord on foot. High levels of radiation were found on only 1 victim's clothing. To dispel the theory of an attack by the indigenous people, the medical examiner stated that the fatal injuries of the 3 bodies could not have been caused by another human being because the force of the blows had been too strong and no soft tissue had been damaged. The mysterious circumstances of the hikers' deaths sparked public interest and speculation. Various groups of investigators, journalists, writers, and enthusiasts have proposed numerous explanations for the incident, ranging from plausible to paranormal. An avalanche. This is the official conclusion of the 2019 Russian investigation and the 2021 scientific study. According to this theory, the hikers were caught in a delayed and unusual slab avalanche, triggered by a combination of factors such as the slope angle, the snow cover, the wind, and the skiers' own activity. The avalanche forced them to cut their way out of the tent and flee to the nearby forest, where they tried to survive until help arrived. However, they were unprepared for the extreme cold, and some of them suffered severe injuries from the avalanche or from falling into the ravine. A military experiment. Some researchers have suggested that the hikers stumbled upon a secret military test site where they witnessed or were exposed to some kind of weapon, such as rockets, bombs, or radioactive material. This could explain the strange lights seen in the sky by other witnesses, the high levels of radiation found on some of the bodies, and the injuries and burns suffered by some of the victims. However, there is no conclusive evidence to support this theory, and the military denied any involvement in the incident. A paranormal phenomenon. Some enthusiasts have proposed that the hikers encountered or were attacked by some supernatural or extraterrestrial force, such as a Yeti, a UFO, or a vortex of energy. This could explain the bizarre behavior of the hikers, the missing body parts, and the orange skin and gray hair reported by some of the witnesses. However, there is no scientific or logical basis for this theory, and it relies on speculation and sensationalism. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious cases in history. Despite the efforts of many investigators and experts, the truth behind the tragedy may never be fully known. What do you think happened to the 9 hikers on that fateful night? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.